Okay, this is problem 6 on the paper 2 practice test, and it's exponential functions. It's kind of hard to see. That's k to the negative m. So it looks like a lot of variables. And so I'm going to give you a couple hints, and this is kind of general for exponential functions, things you can do. Explain why a equals 20. Okay, so let's look at what we have. We have the temperature, a cup of boiling water is placed in a room to cool. The temperature of the room is 20. The reason a equals 20 is that the exponential part is going to level off, and normally it would level off at 0. But since there's a constant here, this is the number that we're always equal to. So because this part of it's going to be equal to 0, this is our horizontal asymptote. It's going to eventually reach the room temperature. So even if you can't do that question, you now have a better equation and still has a lot of variables in it. So let's see what happens. So at m equals 0, the water temperature is 100. So the water temperature is 100 when m equals 0. Well, it says find the value of b. K to the 0 is 1. So we basically have b plus 20 equals 100. B has to be equal to 80. And so you keep making your equation better. On this question, if you couldn't figure out b, make up an answer for b. You can try to figure it out by taking 100 minus 20 and get 80. But if you couldn't figure it out, just make something up, keep going, get some follow-through points. So now I have a new equation, 20 plus 80 times k to the negative m. And it says that after being placed in the room for 1 minute, the temperature is 84. The temp is 84. It's in there for 1 minute. M is the number of minutes. Okay? So now I need to solve this equation. And the best way to solve it, you can isolate some things. So you subtract 20 from both sides. And you get 64 over 80 equals k to the negative 1. You can do that and get your answer by, if you know that k to the negative 1 is 1 over k, 64k equals 80. So 80 divided by 64, 1.25. That's one way to solve it. The other way to solve it, any equation can be solved if you graph this side and graph this side. So I'm going to graph y equals 64 and y equals, the other one was 80 times x to the negative 1. And I go to graph it, and most likely your window was not one where you could see anything, so you're probably in Zoom Standard. But Zoom Standard doesn't really help us here. If I know k equals 64, that means the y value, that's the same as y equals 64. I got to go at least up to 64 on my y-axis. I'm just going to go from starting at negative 1, and then hopefully I'll get a better graph. So there's the one and there's the other. I need to calculate that intersection. That's my solution. Calculate intersection. First curve, enter. Second curve, enter. It jumps for you. And then you can look for the spider. It might show up. Oh, there it is. Enter. you could just push enter, enter, enter. It's asking you to make a guess. There's your 1.25. You would sketch this graph and your answer blank and say I calculated the intersection. So either way that works. So now we have our new equation, t equals 20 plus 80 times 1.25 to the negative m. So I have everything but m. Find the temperature of the water 3 minutes after it's been placed in the room. That means m equals 3. Plug it in. Evaluate on your table, or just plug it in on your main screen and see what you get. Find the total time needed for the water to reach a temperature of 35. Give your answer in minutes and seconds, correct to the nearest second. Okay, so again, I want to know when the temperature equals 35. So I'm going to graph both sides. I'm going to graph y equals 35, and I'm going to graph y equals 20 plus 80 times 1.25 to the negative x. There's the one curve. It's coming down. It's going to intersect. I'm going to go calculate intersection. First curve, enter. Second curve, enter. I'm going to make a guess by just hitting enter. 7.5. 7.50. So m equals 7.50, and that's minutes. And it says give your answer in minutes, seconds, correct to the nearest second. That'd be 7 minutes and 30 seconds, because half of a minute is 30 seconds.